What I think about Auburn.
What I think about Auburn. So what I like about Auburn?
Well, one thing that I like about Auburn is how small it is because everyone is really connected and everyone just knows everyone.
I like it because everyone's friendly and you go to restaurants and you always see people you know. One of the things that I like about Auburn is that there's always something to do. It's a very family-oriented place to both live, work, and raise children.
Auburn is located in southern Maine. At first, Auburn was part of Minot, and once it broke away, it remained a town for 26 years until a group of citizens became motivated and helped it transition into a city. Today it is a city with a little bit of everything and a long history. A history that starts with the Androscoggin River and its Great Falls, and is still growing day by day. A history filled with taverns, shoe mills, agriculture, politics, natural disasters, and education.
Well, I think the key when you think about the start of Auburn is the river. The Androscoggin River, it basically the same reasons that brought the Penobscots to this area, the same reason that a lot of the Irish that were coming up from Portland wanted to stay here. They saw opportunity.
Many people tend to argue about what really started Auburn. There are truly many factors, but there are three main reasons. The first being that it was tucked nicely between Augusta, the capital, and Portland, one of the main economic hotspots in Maine. This made Auburn a natural rest spot where people could get food and stay the night. The second reason is the Androscoggin River. Auburn was located right on the river, which meant there was a big opportunity for manufacturing, which was huge in Maine at this time. The third and final reason is Auburn's founding fathers. Of course, there are many more founding fathers, like Thomas Littlefield, who, without his family, Auburn may not even exist today. You see, the Littlefields owned Littlefield's Tavern, which is one of the main reasons that many people often stopped in Auburn. That was a place where they could get food and rest for the night before finishing their journey. Of course, the inn was not the only achievement of the Littlefield family. Enoch Littlefield became a member of the Board of Selectmen in 1843, and then his son, the next year, Tom Littlefield, became the town clerk. Later, Tom Littlefield would go on to become the mayor, not once, but 3 times. Mayor Littlefield had a lot to do with the transition of Auburn becoming a city. Of course, it wasn't easy, but he was the mayor who really put a lot of effort into making sure that Auburn was securely through the transformation of becoming a city. If people like the Littlefields hadn't helped Auburn transition into a city, who knows where we would be today? Would we even be a city? It is clear that Auburn becoming a city was a big tradition for the town, and they may not have made it through all the changes if it wasn't for families like the Littlefields. In 1854, almost a decade before Auburn officially became a city, there was a very important event. Maine passed a bill that said that a new county, Androscoggin County, would be formed. This brought up a new issue of who would be the county seat or shire town. This created an interesting debate between Danville, Lewiston, Auburn, and Minot. One, of course, that Auburn ended up winning. One of Auburn's biggest industries was the shoe industry, and it may not have even been possible if the Androscoggin River didn't exist, or the technology that allowed mills to create energy from the Androscoggin River existed. And who knows what Auburn's economy would look like now if the shoe industry had never existed. The shoe industry has long been a part of Auburn, Maine, even before it became a city. But as Auburn did become a city, the shoe industry only grew. In fact, in the early 1900s, Auburn was considered the white shoe city of the world. At the height of the white shoe run, mills all over the place in Auburn were producing up to 26,000 pairs of shoes daily. However, the overall peak of Auburn's shoe industry really came into play in 1922. In 1922, Auburn was the 5th largest shoe production center in the United States. Auburn mills would end up producing about 70,000 pairs of shoes daily. There were about 8,000 people who worked in the 12 factories in Auburn. Unfortunately, this did not last long because in 1937 there was a strike. The strike lasted for 14 weeks and got so bad that the Maine governor at the time decided to call in the National Guard to help end the strike. It was one of the few times that Auburn actually made national television. One could say, however, that there were both positives and negatives that came out from the shoe strike. One positive was that the people of Auburn actually fought for what they believed in and went on strike. However, a negative was that the strike was just basically the ending of the shoe industry, which was a big loss economically for Auburn. Agriculture is another industry that has long been a part of Auburn. In the beginning, many farmers noticed that the wheat and rye took nicely to the soil and started to experiment with planting other things. This was truly the beginning of Auburn's agriculture. One of the more common crops that was experimented with were the apple trees. Apple trees then became apple orchards, some of which are still here today, such as Wallingford's, which is located up on Perkins Ridge. Though many people don't realize it, there are actually many cultures and countries involved with Wallingford's picking season. First, you have Auburn's already diverse culture, and then you have the people and pickers that come every harvest season to help Wallingford's finish the picking job. After all, there is a whole orchard that needs to be picked, and there is no way that the whole staff could be out in the field all day picking. That is why the Auburn apples are considered a multicultural product. This is actually really interesting to consider because if for some reason people didn't come from other countries like Jamaica to come and help Wallingfords pick their fruit at the end of the harvest season, then maybe the community would be more involved with Wallingford and have more jobs. But then again, it is pretty amazing that we have our own little multicultural project happening right here in Auburn, Maine. Unfortunately for Auburn, there have been some rough spots in history such as the natural disasters. However, Auburn doesn't get many tornadoes. The natural disasters are mostly fires and floods. One of the biggest floods that happened in Auburn was the flood of 1936. It was caused by 17 straight snowstorms without a thawing period. This made for a lot of snow, and people knew it was going to be an interesting spring. What they were not expecting, however, was the complete flooding levels that were caused in Auburn. Many bridges were washed over, and people had a hard time getting around for weeks. Luckily, no lives were lost. However, over 2,000 families were temporarily made homeless. Yet another major disaster in Auburn was the New Auburn Fire. A ton of buildings were lost, including 2 schools, churches, and many business houses. In this accident, over 2,000 people were made homeless, and in just a few hours, the fire leveled out 249 buildings. In order to end on a happier note, we bring you back to Edward Little, one of our founding fathers. He was extremely important because he was the one who really started Auburn's wonderful education system. Edward Little came from Massachusetts, and when he came up here, he noticed that Auburn was missing a couple of things, but most importantly, the education. So he decided to start a school called Lewiston Falls Academy. This ended up becoming a private academy, and many renowned people went to it. However, this school soon became a public one, and after it burned down a couple of times. After a while, they decided to name the school after Edward Little himself. After all, he was the man who founded our education. While Auburn's future may be uncertain, many people have predictions.
What do I think that Auburn holds for its future? Well, I think that as a community, Auburn will be more accepting of different things because of all the different cultures coming to Auburn and mixing, and we're just learning from each other.
What I think Auburn's future holds, based on seeing the kids that I've seen in my classroom this year and over the past few years, I think it can only get better. The communities are going to grow. There's going to be a lot of more community activities and things, and the students, when they graduate, are just going to go out and do wonderful things. So I think that Auburn's future is going to be pretty awesome.
I think that Auburn's future is going to be pretty awesome because there are a lot of good students that go to the middle school and the high school that are thriving, and they're going to get good jobs and just make Auburn just a better community overall.
I guess we will simply have to wait to find out what becomes a part of Auburn's wonderful history next.